Hello everyone, this is the Undying Nephilim, and in this video I will be showing you guys the Tokay, one of the new minor factions that is being added into the next version of Hyrule Conquest. This video will probably be pretty short because, as with the case of most minor factions, they have very small rosters, so there's not really much to show. But I'll probably go ahead and show other stuff on this map in addition to the Tokay. But anyway, so the Tokay are from Oracle of Ages. They are those little derpy lizard guys that live on the Crescent Islands to the south of Laverna. They're not that much different in Nephi canon. They're pretty much the same. They're kind of these dopey, primitive reptile people that, they live on the Crescent Islands. Laverna ended up conquering them and enslaving them and using them as their slave labor, as well as some low-level soldiers, but there's still tribes of independent Tokay that you can encounter on the Crescent Islands. In the next version that I release, they'll be on the Crescent Island map. And yeah, I'll go into more details on their relationship to the map later, but I guess I will show their units and stuff. As with most minor factions, when you conquer them, all you can build is their main building here, which is the boss chief shack. It lets you train all of their units and research their technologies. But you might also capture their houses or their temple right here, which is the Maku Temple. It's a dead Maku tree that they carved out and turned into a little temple. If you play the Oracle games, this is based on the design of the entrance to the Moonlit Grotto and one of the other dungeons on the Crescent Island. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the Ancient Tomb. But in that game, they had these like large tree stumps that they had carved a Tokay face into. So I'm like, oh yeah, that'll be one of the buildings. At the moment, it doesn't actually do anything other than generate a little bit of territory. So it's pretty much useless. This is really the only building of value that you will want to capture if you want to get all of the Tokay stuff. As is the case with most minor factions. Anyway, I'll go through their units really quickly since they only have a few. The first one is their worker unit, which is the Toki No Shirt, and it's just the worker unit. Not really much else to say about it. And then their second unit is the Toki Hunter, which is just a Tokay with a spear. They have a damage bonus against creatures, and they are also anti-cavalry because they have a pole arm. So, pretty simple and straightforward unit. Before I continue, I should also mention that every Tokay unit is aquatic, so they can all cross into bodies of water, much like the Zora. So, that is one thing that is useful if you capture them and you're playing as a faction that doesn't have any aquatic units. You'll gain a little force of units that can cross into water. But anyway, let me find the third Toki unit right here. The Toki Slinger, which is a ranged unit. They got the little sling that they swirl around and toss stones at enemies. They're not particularly strong, but they have a chance to stun enemies if they hit them, kind of like the Kokiri slingshots. I'd actually say they're probably a little better than the Kokiri slingshotters because they have a little bit more HP and they can cross bodies of water. So, yeah, that is the Toki Slinger. And then after that is the Tokay Bunker, this guy here. This Tokay with a coconut on his head. And these guys just run into enemies and bash them with their heads. They don't deal knockback, although I might make it so that they deal knockback damage, but kind of like the slingers, they do have a chance to stun enemies if they hit them, which is pretty awesome. So I also believe they do crush damage, so at the moment they're good against buildings too. They're not a great, I wouldn't say they're a siege unit, but they can, if you're playing as a faction that has very, very poor siege ability, like let's see, I think the Kokiri have really bad siege ability. So if you fill out your army with these guys, they might help you take out enemy buildings faster. And then what is their next unit? These guys. The Aquadongo Jockeys. They are a mounted cavalry unit. They're pretty slow moving though, so they're not how do I want to phrase this? They're not because they're useful, but they're not useful in the same way most cavalry is. Because most cavalry is really fast, so they're useful for taking down enemies that are fleeing and things like that. These guys are just pretty durable, and they can cross bodies of water. And they've got a spear, so they deal extra damage to other cavalry, so they're an anti-cavalry unit. So yeah, that is the Aquadongo Jockey. The Tokay do have one more unit, but it is actually a navy unit, and I am not putting navies into the game for quite a long time, so it's not going to show up until I add navies to all of the other factions. So we will skip that unit for now, and then 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now, whenever I get to navies, I'll go ahead and do a video where I show all the minor faction navy units, which they will have one. So for now, they only have, I think, 5 units instead of 6. However, they also have a hero, as all of the minor factions do. There are no named canonical Tokay characters from any of the Zelda games, so I created a character for them, who is Otelo, the Tokay Big Boss. And Otelo, as the name implies, is the big boss of the Tokay. Otelo was kind of responsible for accidentally enslaving most of her race to Labrna. So she kind of hates Labrna a little bit, and basically wants to free Tokay slaves from the Labrinians. As a hero, she has got a spear, so she's anti-cavalry. She's not a particularly strong hero. I haven't even put down her hero abilities yet, but hero abilities are not in the engine yet, so not really going to worry about those until Exo and I, or the Zero AD team, get them into the engine. She'll probably have bonuses related to hunting or something like that. So yeah, that is the Tokay units and their hero and their buildings. But they also have 3 technologies you can research if you conquer them. The first one is Labor Instinct, which it provides a 10% reduced construction time for all buildings. So if you research this, all of your buildings will build 10% faster. And that includes factions that don't have workers, like the fairies. So that is actually really, really useful tech. Yeah, it applies to every faction, so everything will build. Actually, I don't think it applies to Gorons, because the way Gorons build, it doesn't use the build time line in their template file, so I actually don't think it'll apply to the Gorons or the add-ons for Lanayru or the Kokiri. I probably should talk about Exodarian to that. Because the way they make their buildings is actually through upgrades rather than actually building them. So it doesn't look at the build time thing, which is what this technology affects. So I'll bother Exo about that. Every other faction though, it'll make all their buildings build 10% faster. The second technology that the Tokay have is called Tokay Coconuts, which provides plus 10 non-magic armor for all citizen units. So that includes workers, like the Tokay workers or worker units. And it applies to citizen units in general. So any citizen units will just get a flat 10 plus 10 non-magic armor bonus and make them a little bit more durable. So that's pretty good if you're playing as, especially Ordana Province, because almost all of their units are classified as citizen units. So if you're playing as Ordana and you conquer the Tokay, you'll definitely want to research this technology, because it'll make all of your squishy peasants a bit more durable. But it's useful for every faction if you want more durable workers. Just more so for factions like Ordana Province. And then the third tech that the Tokay have is called Toka Fishermen, and it doubles the fish harvesting rate. At the moment, fish are not really present in the game. There are fish on some of the maps, but the only faction that currently can really take advantage of fish are the Zora and Lanayru Province. Fish will become a lot bigger in the future, especially when navies are added into the game, as I mentioned earlier. So that technology will apply to workers and any navy units that gather fish. So at the moment, it's really only useful if you're playing as the Zora, but down the road, it'll be useful for any faction that harvests fish, which is most of them. I don't think the Gorons harvest fish because they don't eat fish. There's some other factions that won't be able to touch fish, but most of the factions in the game can actually harvest fish as a food resource. So yeah, that is all of the Tokay stuff. As I said, this video would probably end up being pretty short because minor factions are very small. I'll go ahead and show the rest of the map though, because I really like the way the Crescent Island turned out. And I will go ahead and unrestrict the camera so that I can do this. Whee! Okay, I won't go that crazy. But anyway, one of the two new maps that is being added is the Crescent Isles, or Crescent Islands, the homeland of the Tokay just south of Laverna. And it is a sort of tropical, I would classify it more as subtropical rather than outright tropical, but it's kind of a tropical map. It's got lots of palm trees. It's got those giant kind of coconut. I'm not actually sure if they were coconuts because they were so big, but in Oracle of Ages on the Crescent Islands, there are these giant coconut-like seeds that kind of block your path. So the map has these giant seed things around the map. These bamboo were not in the Oracle. They were not in the Crescent Islands in Oracle of Ages, but I thought like tropical bamboo would look really cool, and I think I was right because I think it looks awesome with the way it turned out. And also it's what the Tokay use to build their buildings too. As you can see, they use the bamboo as kind of a really crappy scaffolding. They also use it for their little walkways and bridges and docks here. So yeah, I really like the way the Tokay bamboo turned out, and I believe it is, yeah, I just called it Tokay bamboo because they use it to build all their stuff. What other stuff's on this map? Oh yeah. Not sure if Exodarian will be able to do it before I release this version, but one of the scripts that is going to happen on this map is there's actually 4 completely separate Tokay tribes, and all 4 of them will constantly try to attack each other. They'll all build up a little army, and they will all randomly attack one of the other 3 Tokay tribes. So there's going to be a giant four-way fight between all 4 of the Tokay tribes. They'll ignore the player unless the player brings their armies and gets caught in the crossfire, but I think that'll be pretty cool. There's just going to be this giant war zone going on in the center of the map most of the time between all of these AI Tokay players. And once you conquer them, though, obviously they'll stop they'll stop attacking each other because you or one of the other players will control them. And the map is a 2-player map. There'll be 1 player in the southern hemisphere and 1 player in the north. And there goes the frame rate because it's rendering everything all at once. Normally you can't zoom out this far, but I disabled the camera restrictions. There's not too much wildlife on this map. I'd like to add more wildlife, but right now it's just the aquatic dodongos, which is a unit that Labyrinth can actually train, and the Tokay ride on them too. There's just some birds that fly around the map that you can't interact with. Let's see if I can find them. They're the rainbow pigeons. There's one. The rainbow pigeons from Breath of the Wild. I have them on all the tropical maps. When navies are added into the game, you'll be able to use the ocean and the canal in the center, which will be really awesome. And there's lots of fish that you can harvest when navies are added. Although the Zora right now can bring their workers out into the ocean and harvest the fish, but anyway, I think that's pretty much all there is to show on this map for now. Yeah, as I said, this would be a pretty short video, but hopefully you guys like the way the Tokay turned out, and hopefully you'll enjoy conquering them. I'll probably have the next version released sometime in the next week. There's one more map I have to make, which will probably take a few days, and I still haven't decided if I'm going to make a trailer. If I do make a trailer, it'll definitely be longer than a week until I release this, because the trailer will take me quite a while to make. I'm tempted to just not make the trailer, though. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Listen!